Your dog already knows you are coming, not when you walk through the door, but 30 seconds before. Most owners assume the greeting begins at the doorway, but research suggests it begins much earlier, in a window of behavior so quiet most people miss it entirely. And it is not because your dog has a sixth sense. It is not magic, not psychic, not the cinematic story you have heard repeated for years. It is because, while you were away, your dog was running a quiet calculation, every minute, every smell, every sound. By the time your car turns onto your street, that calculation finishes. And the next 30 seconds tell you everything about what your absence really means to them. Stay for number 6, because that is the one most owners would never guess. A hormonal shift inside your dog's body that begins before you even reach the driveway. And that changes how you should think about every homecoming for the rest of their life. 1. The pre-arrival stillness. About 30 seconds before you arrive, something very quiet happens. Your dog stops moving. The chew toy is dropped. The nap pauses. The body becomes still in a way that looks almost like listening to something far away. Even the breath shifts, becoming a little slower and a little more deliberate, as if the room itself has just gone on alert. The eyes lose their focus on the nearby and aim instead at something past the wall. That the timing is just luck. The dog must have heard the car, they tell themselves. The story stays as a cute coincidence, and the data underneath it goes unread. But the biologist Rupert Sheldrake spent years documenting this exact moment. In his paper, A Dog That Seems to Know When His Owner Is Coming Home, videotaped experiments and observations. He and his collaborators videotaped a terrier named JT, who belonged to Pam Smart of Northwest England. Pam set off to return home. On 85 of those 100 occasions, the timing was statistically significant. The paper is freely archived through sheldrake.org. Other researchers, notably Richard Wiseman, have disputed the supernatural interpretation, and rightly so. But the behavior itself is real. The dog went still. The dog waited. The dog did this on camera, with the owner blinded to the schedule again and again. Picture it in your own home. The soft thump of a tail going quiet against the floor, a head lifting, a body listening to something the human in the room cannot yet hear. The fridge hums. The clock ticks. The dog has gone somewhere else entirely, somewhere inside its own attention. The strangest part is not whether your dog has a sixth sense. The strangest part is that, and the stillness is just the moment that waiting becomes visible. The moment the wait stops. Space to them. It is something they measure, count, and live inside. 2. The window or door ritual. The next thing your dog does is move, but never randomly. They go to a specific spot, a particular window, a particular hallway, the same square of floor. By the front door, every single time. The route is identical, day after day, year after year, as if it had been mapped in advance. Owners often see this and call it cute. They say their dog likes the view, or the dog likes to nap in the warm patch. By the door, they imagine the behavior is about comfort, not about you. So they don't think about why the dog is always in that exact place at that exact moment. In a house full of other places the dog could be. They don't ask why the timing is so precise. A research team led by Daniel Mills at the University of Lincoln mapped separation-related behavior. Their work, summarized across several papers and reported by the American Veterinary Medical Association, found that separation distress in dogs is not a single condition, but a cluster of patterns. As the expected return time approaches, the window vigil is not random. It is one of the most consistent anticipatory behaviors in the entire literature on canine attachment, and it shows up across breeds, ages, and households. You can sometimes see the evidence of it in the house itself. The wall under the window just a little duller than the rest. A doormat that the dog has flattened with sitting over and over in the same shape. That spot is not a habit. It is a memorial of every time you have ever come home. They built it, paw by paw, while you were away. And the fact that you have never noticed only means they have been doing it without an audience the entire time. Some of the most loyal acts in a dog's. 3. The tail asymmetry. Once they reach the waiting spot, the tail begins to move. And which side it favors tells you something most owners have no idea about. Almost every dog owner believes a wagging tail simply means happy. We say it without thinking. We post it on social media. We assume the more wag, the more joy. So, we miss the direction of the wag entirely, which is where the actual science lives. and where the most surprising findings of the last 20 years are hidden. In a study published in the journal Current Biology in 2007, the neuroscientist Giorgio Valortigara and his colleagues, working between the University of Trieste and the University of Bari, examined tail-wagging direction in pet dogs. They found that dogs wag more strongly to the right side of their body when they see something they have a positive emotional relationship with, including, very specifically, their owner. Dogs reading the asymmetry also responded differently. Left-biased wagging produced higher stress signals in observing dogs than right-biased wagging. Look at the angle. Look at which side the tail is favoring. If you watch carefully enough, the angle is the first sentence in a paragraph the dog is about to write with its whole self. That right-leaning wag is your dog's brain announcing, without language, that you are not just a person. You are the person. The familiar one, the safe one, the one their hemispheres have recognized before. Their conscious mind has even fully caught up. A whole nervous system, in a single second, sorting friend from stranger and choosing you, again, the way it has chosen you every day of its life. 4. The ear triangulation. Watch your dog's ears in those final seconds. They do not flop, they lift, they swivel. Sometimes only a fraction of a degree, sometimes a full and obvious sweep, but always in a direction that tells you they have located something specific in the world outside the walls. Owners explain it away. They say the dog just heard a noise. They look out the window, see nothing. The dog is hearing your noise, the specific frequency of your engine, the particular cadence of your footsteps, the unique clink of your keys against your belt loop. Research summarized by the American Kennel Club and explored in detail by canine cognition writers like the psychologist Stanley Coren of the University of British Columbia shows that dogs can hear sounds up to about 60 kilohertz, more than 3 times the upper range of human hearing, and can register sounds from roughly half a mile away, sometimes much further in open conditions. Coren's writing in Psychology Today, drawing on auditory research, separate family footsteps from a stranger's pattern and pick out an owner's keys from a stranger's set. When tested in controlled discrimination tasks, the hearing system in a dog's head is, in effect, a microphone array tuned to the people it loves. You may have noticed it without realizing. The dog stands up while you are still parking the car. The dog ignores every other vehicle passing by. Their ear lifts only for you, never for the neighbors, never for the delivery driver, never for the person with the same model of car next door. The selectivity is almost spooky. Out of every person in the world moving down this street, I know which one is mine. I knew you were coming before the door even opened, because I have been listening for the precise signature of your arrival since the moment you left. Every honk, every cough, every distant engine has been filtered through the same question. Is that you? Is that you? Is that you? And only the one matching answer makes the ears finally lift. And if this is changing how you see your dog right now, go ahead and subscribe. Every video on this channel is built around what the science actually says, not what we assume. 5. The scent clock check. In those final seconds, you will often see your dog do something small and easy to miss. They put their nose against something of yours. A pillow, a worn coat, blanket you slept on. They take one slow, deliberate breath of it just before the door opens. Owners barely register the gesture. It looks like sniffing. We tell ourselves the dog is just being a dog, doing what dogs do. We forget that a dog's olfactory system is something closer to a second, the passage of time itself. Alexandra Horowitz is a cognitive scientist at Barnard College of Columbia University, where she heads the Dog Cognition Lab. In her widely cited book, Inside of a Dog, and in her later work on canine olfaction, she has described and explored the theory of the olfactory clock, the idea that dogs perceive time by reading the gradual decay of scents around them. Your scent grows steadily weaker after you leave the house. According to Horowitz's framing, the dog tracks this fade like a slow-burning candle and uses it to estimate how long She has been careful to note in interviews that the hypothesis has not been formally tested in a controlled laboratory setting, but the idea has reshaped how cognitive scientists, journalists at NPR, and even working trainers talk about a dog's relationship to time. In those last 30 seconds, when the scent in your favorite chair or on your pillow has reached the level the dog has learned to associate with your arrival, they check it. One slow inhale, a confirmation. That sniff is the dog reading the time on a clock you cannot see. Your absence has a chemistry, a slow fade across cushions and carpets, and the dog has learned to read it the way you learn to read the angle of the afternoon light through a familiar window. Because it does not happen in the room with them. It happens inside your dog's body, beneath the fur, beneath the skin, and by the time you reach the driveway, it has already been working for nearly a full minute. We think of dog excitement as the door-opening jump, the spinning, the whining greeting. We assume that is when the chemistry kicks in, so we miss the fact that by the time the door opens, the chemistry has been preparing the body for an extraordinary biological event, reunion with the person whose presence regulates everything from heart rate to immune response. In a landmark study published in the journal Science in 2015, Takafumi Kikusui Nagasawa and their colleagues at Azabu University in Japan demonstrated that mutual gazing between dogs and their owners triggered a measurable surge in oxytocin, the bonding hormone, in both species in a closed, positive feedback loop they called the oxytocin gaze positive loop. This loop was not observed in wolves raised by humans. Lena Roth and Ann-Sophie Sundman at Linköping University in Sweden found that long-term cortisol levels measured in hair samples were synchronized between dogs and owners. The dog's stress was literally tied to the human's stress across many months, and an earlier work by Therese Wren and Linda Keeling, published in the journal Physiology and Behavior, dogs' hormonal responses at reunion were shown to depend on the manner in which the owner reinitiated contact, with sustained oxytocin elevation only appearing when physical touch. Before the key, before the door, before the eyes meet, your dog's cortisol is beginning to drop. Their oxytocin is beginning to climb, their breath quickens, their heart rate shifts, their pupils dilate just slightly. Their body has decided on a chemical level that the most important person in their world is about to come back, and it is rearranging itself to receive that return as fully as it can. That is what the 30 seconds really are. Not waiting, not boredom, not coincidence. They are the body of a creature you love rearranging itself, quietly and entirely, around your impending return. Most owners walk through that door and see only the tail and the spin and the noise. The truth is happening underneath all of it. The truth is that you are met every single day, across an entire small body that has been counting the minutes you were gone. The greeting at the door is not the beginning of love. It is just the visible part of a love that has been working, quietly and biologically, since the moment you left. If this changed something for you, leave a comment and tell us which of the 6 you have noticed in your own dog. And if you want more videos that look past the cute reactions and into the actual science of what your dog is doing, go ahead and subscribe and stay for the next one. Every video on this channel begins the same way, with a question most dog owners have never stopped to ask, and then we go looking for, because the strangest thing about your dog is not the way they greet you when the door opens. It is everything they did, quietly and invisibly, in the 30 seconds before.